Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Jasmine the Buffet Witch, and welcome to another foundation video. We're going to jump right on in. I'm going to get started with my concealer and color corrector, and we're going to go ahead and get into this. I am going to color correct really fast using the Fenty Beauty Bright Fix in the shade Pumpkin. I'm going to apply that with a e.l.f. Flawless Concealer Brush just in the corners of my eye, and then basically my entire face. I just have a lot of hyperpigmentation from bumps and blemishes and things like that, and while I don't need to cover them 100%, I do like a sheer wash of this just to help the foundation lay on top and provide flawless coverage, if flawless coverage is what I'm going for. And in this look, I am kind of going to go for a flawless look. So just tap it on and kind of buff so it's kind of dried. And yeah, nothing too crazy. We don't need a ton. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and set my concealer down. You already know the deal. My Nikki K concealer, these are just about empty, which is nice. Means we're using them, we're loving them, we're liking them. So shade 8 right on the outside, closer to the skin tone, and then shade 2 on the inside. This one is a bit brighter. When you let these dry down, they almost get gel-like. So it doesn't dry down and get cementy like the e.l.f. Camel Concealer does for me, which is really strange seeing as how I just bought the Camel Concealer again for the first time in a very long time, but I bought the hydrating one. All right, today's foundation is going to be the KVD Good Apple foundation. I use the shade 074. It's the closest to my skin tone that the brand has. And this is a very thick, can be heavy foundation. When this came to the scene, everybody and their mama was using it and doing thumbnails going, oh my God, like they'd never seen full coverage foundation before, which is very weird. But I mean, you gotta get views somehow, I guess. I am always late to the trends, late to the bus. I do what I wanna do when I wanna do it. And I picked this up a few months ago while I was doing just a random haul, and I've worn it a few times. This is definitely a foundation that is only for makeup play. It's very thick. You can thin it out, but it is a very thick foundation. Think cream to powder. And it photographs really well. It plays really nice with other makeup, like your bronzer and powders and things like that. But I've worn it a few times and it just feels like play makeup to me. Not like kid makeup, but it feels like makeup I would use when I want to play in makeup. Not something I want to wear outside. I just feel like it would slip and slide and get all over everything and everyone. You know, I'm just applying it, and I'm pretty sure you could find a little bit in between my toes right now. So she spreads, she goes far. So I like to put it on with a slightly stippling motion. I like to just work in small sections, and I'm not swiping or wiping. I'm kind of just stamping it on and then buffing those edges so there are no harsh lines. This is also how you achieve super full coverage. So I never really watched videos on people wearing this. I think I watched a few. Andrea, is it Andrea or Andrea? I think it's Andrea Renee. Used to be another one of my favorite YouTubers, and I remember watching her do it. And I feel like the best way to do this is with a pouncing motion, especially if you're trying to achieve coverage. If you've got things to cover, this is going to be the best method. So as you see, I'm just tapping it on. No swiping, no wiping, no left to right, just the up and down. And I'm using a very small amount of the product. I think using a small amount with the proper technique is going to be the best way to get this to look like a lighter weight foundation that just has a lot of coverage. Like, I just remember seeing a few videos and people just using a ton of the product. And this does not need to, you don't need to use a lot. It really does travel quite far. So, all right. So as you can see, we have really good coverage. You can barely see any of my hyperpigmentation. This color on me is a little bit ashened, just a touch, but that's okay. We're gonna work with powders to fix that. I'd rather my foundation be a slight bit lighter than darker because it's easier for me to correct with deeper powders. So not a problem. And again, I do have a olive undertone, so I almost prefer something brighter because I can fake the funk if the undertone is not olive. All right, looks good. So now I'm just gonna go back in and just make sure that there are no streaks. I'm just tapping it down. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, go off camera. I'm gonna put on some brows, blend out my concealer, and I will be right back. All right, guys, we are all done with the concealer being blended out. I'm gonna go ahead and set my under eye with my Fenty Powder in Honey. I got these new little triangle sponges from e.l.f. I'm trying to find some comparable sponges to the ones that I get off Amazon because they all just kick the bucket way too soon after washing. Like, I washed them once and they're already ripping at the seam, and I don't have the time for that. So I like to heavily powder my under eye, almost to the point where you could say it's cakey, because my concealer is very emollient and it can handle it. The Fenty powder is very drying, so I do like this combo together because concealer is emollient enough to handle such a dry powder, and I actually really like the way that it looks when my under eye is quite dry. I feel like I have less creasing, and what I think somebody would call creasing is literally just the lines of my eye. But this way I know that they are 100% set, and I'm not going to have any breakthrough of the concealer. So we're amplifying coverage, and we're really just setting her down in cement, basically. So the under eyes look really nice. I like the way that it looks. It looks smooth to me. I'm happy. So for the rest of the face, we are going to set with, I've really been enjoying this, the L'Oreal Infallible Freshwear Foundation. I use the shade 355, which is Sienna. I'm just going to take a powder brush. It's very loosely packed. And I'm going to pounce this on the face first because I want to make sure the KVD powder or foundation is actually set before we do any swirling, buffing, any heavy circular manipulation. Wow, I cannot talk. I've been up for a while, so. And this also kind of brings that really bright undertone from the foundation down, brings it a little bit more gold, kind of blends it into my skin a bit better. And we will further that with our bronzer and contour, or bronzer or contour, because I do not do both bronzer and contouring at the same time. I bronze or I contour. They go in the same place though. I just use something warm when I'm bronzing and something cool when I'm contouring. Okay, so before I do any buffing, I'm just going to take a quick peek. Nothing looks dewy, nothing looks streaky. Coverage is full. I'd say we're at maximum coverage right now. And I'm just going to get the corners of the eyes here. All right, and then taking a little bit more of the powder, I'm just going to swirl very lightly. All right, I'm gonna go off camera, do my blush, bronzer, and highlight or contour, whichever one I'm gonna do, and we will be right back. All right, guys, we are back and we are finished with the blush combo. I went in with my Yacht Life Minted Cosmetics bronzer. We are wearing my Juvia's Place orange blush from the Saharan Blush Volume 1, I wanna say, maybe 2, can't remember which one. I depotted mine. And then the highlight is from my W7 Bronze and Glow palette. This is from Five Below, and we're using this beautiful rose gold shade here for our highlight, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead, continue my play session, and I will come back to you at the end of that, let you know how this foundation wears throughout the play, all right? So I'll be back really, really soon. Bye. All right, so we are back. It has only been maybe 45 minutes. Probably not even, and I'm pretty much done playing in the makeups. I'm low energy, but anyways, so let's talk about this foundation. So I don't remember what the claims are supposed to be. The packaging doesn't say anything, just skin perfecting foundation balm. It doesn't say whether it's supposed to be full coverage or this, that, the other, whether it's matte, whether it's hydrating. It doesn't really say. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this is supposed to be a skin-like finish. So that implies a slight dew, but not so much that you would call it luminous, you know, a natural finish probably. The coverage can be built up to full. This is something that I'm sure you could do a medium, even a light to medium to full coverage. She kind of does whatever you need her to do. This is something, if you want a really sheer coverage, I would actually take a little bit, like take a tiny spatula, mix some in with your moisturizer. That could give you a very lightweight balm, you know, kind of, what are those called? CC cream, skin tint type of deal. If you want medium coverage, I would say apply it with the sponge. The sponge is going to shear it out a little bit if you don't have a ton to cover. But if you're like me and you have hyperpigmentation and you have a lot of blemishes or dark spots like this, I would definitely recommend color correcting first and then applying with a dense brush in stippling motions, basically the up and down, applying it and then up and down, up and down, up and down, just kind of setting it down like you're putting a puzzle piece, like you're tapping a puzzle piece down. Swiping and wiping, you're gonna get streakage, you're gonna get lines because it's also very emollient. So I wouldn't do any heavy manipulation with this product because you're gonna heighten the chances of getting streaking. I would say definitely let it set for a little bit before you put your powders on. And if you put your powders on without letting it set, this is another time where I would apply in a pouncing motion, you know, like get the powder and make sure that everything is set or dry before you do any swirling or buffing, just to avoid maybe getting your brush in the product, making it drag, because I did have that happen. I can't remember which foundation I was working with, but it wasn't completely set. I started putting on my powders and swirling and I felt a little bit of a tug. But for makeup play, this is definitely a win. This is something I could totally see myself using because it covers beautifully. It was easy to put on, it was quick to put on, and once I had it set, the coverage, or the it feels like it's sitting in place perfectly fine. I don't know how I feel about it on my pores. They're a bit large here, but I typically have large pores. Around the mouth, I did just do a few lip swatches, and it applied back, you know, I just used the brush that I applied it with, no added product, to get my lip line back into formation, and it did it just fine. I don't have any weird breakdown. I actually did not set this one with any setting spray. When I did the Revolution foundation, after I set that, which I had to set very heavily, I did have to spray my face. This one, I did not set my face, so yeah. The forehead looks good. The forehead is usually where I can tell if this product sits on top of the skin, clings to any dry patches, anything like that, you know, gets lost in lines and crinkles and such. And I'm not seeing any of that, so that's good. It's a win. Right now, I'm gonna say a yes for the Good Apple. And even though I said this is a foundation I would consider using for makeup play in the video I did dedicated to this, I'm kind of having second thoughts. We might have to try applying it a few different ways before I finally make a decision on whether it's something that we can use up. Because I have finished a few foundations and I really, really like those, but they just are way better than this. So the Good Apple is a good purchase for now. But thank you so much for tuning into my channel. It's been me, Jasmine the Buffet Witch, but you already know that. And I will see you in the next video, which will be pretty soon. Until then, take care. Bye.